The Community Foundation of Elmira-Corning and the Finger Lakes, 40 years of service. For 40 years, the Community Foundation of Elmira-Corning and the Finger Lakes has helped countless individuals, families, companies, and organizations invest in the future of the Chemung Valley and its people. The Community Foundation is a public charity that awards grants to nonprofit organizations whose programs make a positive impact on the needs and issues that face our community. This is the story of the Community Foundation, told by some of the people that gave birth to the organization, helped it grow, and continue to influence its development to this day. In the fall of 1971, several notable Corning community leaders imagined and devised an organization through which pooled resources could be invested, managed, and the interest earned used to support worthy causes. This was the birth of the Corning Community Foundation.
And it kind of just was an organization on paper. We all had ideas of what we wanted it to do. I again, was not involved in the very beginning. I became involved because of the flood.
In 1972, an act of God propelled the foundation forward. After the flood of '72, 6 Corning area churches applied for federal rebuilding funds to the tune of $400,000. By the time the money arrived, however, they had already repaired their churches with self-raised funds. Instead of immediately repaying the loan, the churches used it to create the Southeastern Steuben County Human Services Fund to help others.
We decided that if we could get all these organizations to donate their money to the Community Foundation, the Community Foundation would then pay back to SBA over the 20 years the monies that they needed to pay back in interest and principal. We, in turn, could invest that money and get a much higher rate of return. Back then it was a good rate of return compared to today, of course, which is 0. But then it was very high. It was in the 7, 8, 9, 10% range. So we invested, put that money into an investment, and off the difference between what we owed SBA and what we had earned in interest, we were able to form the Human Services Fund, which gave the Community Foundation a $500,000 basis, and it gave us a pretty nice return on investment.
The Corning Community Foundation held and managed the fund, astutely investing the money. Not only were they able to repay the government in full from the interest, but they also established a substantial permanent endowment to support a variety of community interests. Independently, around the same time, several notable Elmirans had a similar idea. Elmira had an abundance of well-known, long-standing families who'd been successful in business and industry. Many of these families sought an efficient way to manage their philanthropic responsibilities to the community they loved.
3 men, Elmirans, sort of city fathers. One was Bob Colson, the editor or the publisher of the Star-Gazette. One was Joe Stein, a businessman in Elmira, and the other was Dick Evans, another he was the president of Evans Roofing. And I think that they went to the Junior League of Elmira and asked them to do a feasibility study as to, one of them had become sort of aware of what a community foundation was and thought it would be good for Elmira.
Dick Evans, Bob Colson came to the Junior League and presented this concept of the Community Foundation and asked the Junior League if they would be willing to research it and see if it was feasible for this community and just sort of take the, assume a leadership role. The Junior League ultimately gave a grant of $5,000 to the Community Foundation, which was the first money that it ever received. It was for operating money, and those of us who were involved, you go back to Ruth Murray or Mary Booth, and they made that $5,000 last forever. I mean, they made it last a really long time.
A steering committee came next, followed by a board of directors, and finally articles of incorporation to create the community foundation of the Chemung County area.
My father and Dick and all of those community leaders in that generation, really felt there were enough people in this community with financial resources that would support a community foundation.
The first community foundation offices were in a storefront near the Elmira Business Institute. Prior to that, operations were run from people's homes. In 1993, the communities merged their respective foundations, creating the Community Foundation of the Elmira-Corning area. An executive director was hired, and the foundation moved to offices in downtown Elmira. In 2012, the foundation moved again to newly renovated space in Horseheads, New York.
So a lot of people are proud of this merger of the Community Foundation, I think because it worked. I think we realized that the Grand Canyon between Elmira and Corning can easily be bridged. And that people who care deeply about their neighborhood, they understand how someone feels about their neighborhood that's only 14 miles away. We've also come to realize that this is a region. We certainly share more than an airport. We share, we share a river. We share our water source. We share employers. We share physicians. Neither community can really stand alone. Can you imagine Elmira without Corning or Corning without Elmira? The things that you depend on each other day to day for. That's why this merger has worked so beautifully, because the Community Foundation at its core is always very good at seeing the big picture.
Today, the Community Foundation is staffed by dedicated professionals who oversee 170 funds, nearly $40 million in assets, 500 grants and scholarships a year, and nearly $2 million in distributed grants.
The money that's here is here in perpetuity. It will always be here. The principal will never go away, so that the money's invested and the interest and the dividends, or a percentage of that, is distributed each year. But they never distribute any more, so that they get down below what the initial gift of the donor was.
The joy that donors have when they create funds and things. I mean, it's really it's a win-win situation all around.
Yeah, it's a great vehicle to leave money to your community. The money is never spent. That appealed to a Scotsman. Only the earnings are spent. And so it made a lot of sense to me, and you have a committee of concerned citizens who decide where that money should go, that's ongoing, and so the whole idea appealed to me once I learned about it.
It reaches so many needs, and it reaches so many things that are changing, always changing in the community. It goes well beyond the scholarships. It goes into a lot of programs where nonprofit programs, they're trying to make things work, and they have great ideas. They have no place to go. We're a great resource. And that money is just a vehicle to make things happen. It's the way we touch, and I think the emotion is not the foundation, it's the results of what we give via the foundation. And those, we're leveraging other people, other resources, and affecting lives that wouldn't any longer be, we wouldn't be touched.
When you think about what someone wants to be remembered for, it's always the best part of their personality. It's that they loved the arts, or it's that they loved children. And so we get to just do that every single day. We get to remind the world that this person had this passion, and passion we never want to die.
We look forward to many more years of promoting solutions that address our community's greatest needs and serve the common good.